어릴 때 제가 뭘 봤거든요.
Abraxas of Emotions. This was such an inventive and joyful piece in its creativity. The color scheme, the quick snaps of editing, and music plunking away made for excellent intro and sections interspersed between our narrator guiding us into his artistic journey, which felt quite universal in its truths. There's an innocence and an irreverence that only kids can really bring forth in spontaneity and fresh perspective, or so we thought. I think throughout this piece we tackle that idea that it is only childlike, or really maybe those children just grow up and are still present, but just need to be woken up and have the dust blown off. Um, the film wrapped with a really nuanced and poignant message, and uh, yeah, it made me think of my own creative journey and how to tap into those emotions in a new light again.
Abraxas of Emotions. I loved this. I thought this was so clever, such a wonderful way to describe and show emotions, especially using kids, because I think that a lot of the time, once we get into adults and we've been living and trying to manage our emotions for so long, that we often forget when you're a kid and you're kind of discovering these emotions and trying to figure out what they are, and they can be so consuming. And I thought that the way that they handled this was so creative, and having these four kind of different views of emotion and having these four different kinds of filters, if you will, of different emotions to kind of see through, and then taking it through all of the senses and showing that your emotions kind of tint whatever you like see, hear, touch, feel, all of these things. And I thought that was so clever. And then having at the very end him revealing his drawing, which was him with all of these different components that they had been talking about and sharing as you're walking through the different senses and as you're kind of walking through the different emotions. I thought it was so clever, and it was really captivating. It held my attention so well. It was really colorful too, which I thought was amazing, and really embraced this kind of childlike wonder of, having them play with these different things like the cups when you're doing hearing and all these different kind of aspects of it. I thought it was really wonderful. I absolutely loved it.
These reviews for Abraxas of Emotions, this they gave us a powerful initial quote by Hermann Hesse. We have joy, anger, sorrow, and excitement mixed with our senses. I think it's a commentary on perceptions, emotions, and our reactions and how they all shape us as we grow older. Quite original and insightful. They also give a beautiful showcase of the artist's painting and his final piece, that's the monster. It is just brilliant, and I really enjoyed kids having different emotions, and some of them I think were quite authentic in camera, so it was a great job.
I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was just delightful and surprising. The sort of interluding part with the children at the different stations, the way that was colored and presented was just really fascinating. It was a good contrast to what we were seeing with the individual and his painting, which I thought in the end was really fascinating as well. Just a remarkable painting. The whole piece is just sort of whimsical, but also kind of somber. It's a really interesting mix. I really enjoyed it. So great work.
This was really cool. I really enjoyed this film. I liked the use of the muted colors and the flashbacks to where it was a little bit more color and stuff like that. I think that the filmmakers were really clever about how they went inside of his head to show these 4 emotions as children, and each of them were assigned its own color. And they had their colors corresponded with the little table that they had and the crayon and everything. I thought that was very, very clever. I thought that the entire cast did an amazing job. I think everybody was so talented, especially with the artistry, what he was doing. Our lead actor, who was also speaking, great chops, great acting chops, because I believed him. I believed him sitting there telling this story. And I think that he was also a wonderful artist. I loved the use of the powder at the end, where they're all throwing this colored powder at each other. I thought that was great. And how at the end it went from the muted colors to the full, very vibrant, like your senses were no longer dulled. I'm so glad, A, subtitles. Thank you for the subtitles. But B, that they put each one of the emotions, they wrote them out in the title screen. I was really appreciative of that, because the purple one I was struggling with a little bit. I wasn't sure which one it was, so it was nice to have the validation of that purple was actually excitement. So thank you for that. Yeah, you guys did a great job with this. It was a beautiful film.
Hey, I'm commenting on the short film Abraxas of Emotion. I thought that this was a really cool, just like sort of abstract take on, well, at least I read it as, the parable of the blind men all feeling, different parts of an elephant and arguing about what it is, when in reality they're, all talking about different parts of the same thing. So, I think you're making that point explicitly clear with the introduction of the elephant to the piece. And I really enjoyed that. I wasn't 100% sure how this tied into emotion. It felt more rooted in perception and how our perceptions shape us just as much as they shape the world we're perceiving. So for me, that was the more resonant theme. But I enjoyed the piece. It felt a little like an episode of Fooly Cooley or something, in the way that it sort of wove like more realistic scenes with this abstract, celebration of color. I guess the one thing that I think you could work on are the audio transitions. They feel sort of in between being abrupt and fluid, and I think they're feeling a little unintentional. I would probably dial them in one direction or the other. But all in all, really good job. Nice work.
Alright, I just finished watching Abraxas of Emotions. I hope I am saying that correctly. This was a really beautiful piece. I thought that it was incredibly well designed, not just in terms of sound design, but in terms of cinematography. It was a very interesting theme in terms of the creative process and sort of your inner child as well. And I thought the central performers really matched that concept, not just with the beautiful art that was on display, but sort of the very raw and accessible emotions from the children and their thoughts about how they feel and how they process their emotions into art. And I thought there was a very sort of avant-garde approach to the piece that really allowed you to interpret it the way you wanted to, but there was also a very strong sense of theme and narrative that was couched with the creative process and the chemistry sort of conceit in terms of taking something and turning it into something else, and just what it means to transform and to transfer your feelings into art that expresses how you feel on the inside. So I thought it was a very interesting piece, and the music in particular worked really, really well. I thought it was a great contrast with silence and the music for when the children appeared that really matched the sort of bright contrast and ruminative mood that was being bounced back and forth throughout the piece. So I thought it was incredibly well done. I thought the ending was very interesting and allowed for a wide range of interpretations in terms of how you felt, and I thought the last piece in particular reflected that and was a really interesting piece of self-portrait, insular and outside viewing of yourself that really created a strong feeling within me, at least in particular. So I thought this was a strong piece, and I really did enjoy it.